Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Quantum Health Connection podcast. My name is Heather Nielsen. I'm here with my wonderful co host, Vanessa Baldwin. And today we're doing a solo cast of the two of us, and we are going to be talking all things melanin. And so, what prompted this topic is, of course, because it's spring, summer is imminent, as well as Vanessa was lucky enough to be able to recently spend a week in St. Lucia. I'm not jealous at all. But so we thought, you know what, it's a really good time to revisit melanin. I don't remember, Vanessa, if we talked about it in a prior podcast, but it's such an incredibly fascinating as well as profoundly important molecule that we wanted to highlight it in a podcast all on its own.
Yeah, I think it's so important to talk about melanin because most of us think of melanin, we're like, that's like first of all, we don't even know. We just think about a tan, right? We're like, we don't even know that that's the word melanin, right? That we're making melanin in our skin, but we're like, oh yeah, it's our tan. And everybody knows. I mean, you look better, you feel better with a tan, right? I love the way I look with a tan. I feel better, I feel stronger. I feel so much more energetic and abundance of life, spring through summer and fall. And then, winter is there's a little dip there in energy, which is normal because we're not harnessing that energy from the sunlight, right? So, yeah, melanin is such a cool molecule to chat about. So I'm excited to talk about it. But I thought really was fascinating and a good prompt for this is I did get to go to St. Lucia. And man, how amazing was that trip? It was so, so fun just to like disconnect from everything, but also getting to be in such strong UV light all that time. And I was a little bit worried because I had gone to Mississippi in February and I just went to St. Lucia in the end of April. And I had got a sunburn in Mississippi, like, because going from New York, where it's, winter, dead of winter, not getting any, good UV light at that time, to going to a UV index that was only like a 5, but I got a sunburn because I was kind of really overzealous. Like I really was like, I really want the sun so much. I was craving it and I went right in without like thinking about the right way to do it. But I also didn't have a built up solar callus or a built up like solar adaptation because I didn't have those few months before to do that. Like in the dead of winter here, it's just not possible. So this time was a little different because I had spent a lot of time outside in the sun, and I'll say a little shout out to Sun Hug. Thank you very much for that because yeah, I can literally be outside when it's 20 degrees out and still be getting the UVA light, even if it's just UVA on my skin. It's like so valuable and it helped me build up that solar adaptation. So it was interesting to go all the way down to St. Lucia to a UV index of 10 and not get a sunburn, right? Like how is that even
It's
possible?
incredible, actually, because the difference in UV is pretty significant. And then for those
That's
who don't know,
hard
the
to explain.
sun hug is a small, like little house that's clear, so it allows the light to come through the top of it, and but the sides are insulatory in the sense that they will because the whole thing gathers heat, so you're not going to freeze in the middle of winter being outside sunbathing when it's like 40 degrees out. So it'll concentrate the heat inside, yet you are still warm enough to be able to get sun exposure. So you were doing that consistently up until the time you left, which is what you're talking about. That's why you didn't burn there, but you did in Mississippi because you hadn't been able to do as much sun exposure.
Yeah, because even we had a really harsh winter here, like a really harsh one. Lots of snow, lots of blizzardy days, cold, rainy days. And it just we don't have any UVB throughout quite a few months, and we have very like the UVA is like a 1, so it's very very low for quite a
Wow.
few months. And this time because of the timing of St. Lucia, like February, March, okay, UV index starts coming up. It was like a 3, 4, maybe a 5 on some days. So I got a lot of UVA light, and UVA light is when we where we build melanin. It's where we build in the melanocytes of our skin. So it's how, that's the light that triggers it. So I built up a decent base or a decent solar adaptation. But I also was smart about sun exposure while I was down there, of course, too. Like, I mean, obviously, making sure to get morning sunlight every day. I'm up at sunrise anyway, right? And so you're getting all that morning sunlight, you're prepping the skin so the body knows, the eyes and the skin know more intense light is coming, right? So I was doing that. And I was also, I wore a hat. I didn't stay, like, I'm not saying like you can't get a sunburn. If I would have stayed in the sun all day long, just laid there, I probably would have got a
Yeah, you
sunburn.
were being wise. You were being a dumbass. So let's be
Yeah, I
honest.
was
You
wise at
know
it, but I
what you're
didn't.
doing. You weren't going to
Right.
get greedy and risk
Right.
getting a sunburn because you know better now.
Well, yeah. I mean, I was greedy, I think, in Mississippi because I was like so wanting the light. Like I was so missing the light, like so much. I was like, oh my God, there's sun. And I just like laid in this light forever and I just didn't move. But here, like between like 11 to like 5, I was wearing a hat. I was going in and out of the sun and the shade. You know, you can even get a sunburn like reflecting
Yeah.
from the light and from the ocean and the sand.
Or
But
even
I
when
was in
it's
the
cloudy,
shade.
you can too. So,
Yeah, it was sunny most days. Like that was so cool. So I was in and out of things and I was smart about it, but I was like probably the only person I saw there with I wore no sunblock, literally zero sunblock.
that's important to highlight, right?
Zero. Probably the only person there, they're all spraying the sunblock. And everybody else, like so many people had sunburns. It was like they're all over the place, and so many people wearing sunglasses. That was another thing I wanted to highlight. Like, I mean, it was so common. And another thing is I'm obviously super diligent about my light environment in general, right? Only person there wearing blue blockers at a wellness place, and me and my brother, I will say there was two of us. So that was interesting. I was like, okay, we have so much more to learn because all these people are wellness interested because it's a wellness place where we went to, but they're not have that, they don't know about that, or they're just not interested. So anyway, it was interesting to have that experience and yeah, and have all of that solar energy. I felt so recharged. I mean, of course, there's many things that are contributing when you do something like that, but yeah, I felt really recharged and I know melanin was a big part of it for sure. It was really nice.
Yeah, we're absorbing so much energy from the
Hmm.
sun, from earthing, all of the things, and not expending as much as you normally do, right? Which is fine. I mean, you have all the things in your day to day life that you're attending to, but there's a lot of energy output. And so you were just
Mhm.
recharging the whole time.
Yeah, it was so nice. It was really nice. I think I need to do it more than every 16 years because I haven't had a real break like that in 16 years because even though we travel and we do go on vacation, like you'll see me traveling on vacation, I'm traveling in an RV. So I'm still the chef. I'm still the cook and cleaner. I'm still have three kids. Like I'm still, the tour guide, I'm the manager of doing all the events. Like I'm still all those things.
You have three kids, your
Um,
husband, your dog to attend to. And
Oh, my dog. Yeah, I have
it's
my.
not like you're just
It's not.
chilling, you know? So when
It's
you went to
like
St.
vacation.
Lucia,
It's not like vacation, but it's not vacation. Like it's
well,
kind of.
exactly. This was a real restorative retreat for you, and you got massages because it was for your 20th wedding anniversary gift from your
Yeah.
family. So you just were able to really indulge, and that's the real nourishment right there. Is that you all the energy you were receiving and not having the normal output and attending to, right, all the
Yeah.
things you do normally attend to day to day, plus to your business stuff. All of it. It's a
Yeah, I
lot.
took a break from all the things,
Yeah,
all the things. Yeah,
yeah.
it's very. I don't. I mean, like I said, in 16 years, I probably haven't had that amount of time where I was like no responsibilities. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's a huge piece of it. So yeah. Okay, I have to do it again.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But so obviously, as Vanessa's saying, like melanin is very visible as far as in someone's skin tone, right? Your haplotype is the lower numbers are lighter skin type, and the higher the numbers, the darker skin type. That's depending on and determined by how much melanin is in your skin. And we just think of melanin as like a pigmentation, but it's just so much more than that. And that's the cool research in quantum biology is showing us that it's really basically these molecules are semiconductors. So they're absorbing light and they are doing so many things and probably a ton of stuff that we don't know about and may never know about. So that's why we wanted to highlight some of these things on the podcast is just how really critically important and fascinating melanin is to our overall health. So when we get more sun exposure, our body gets busy making more melanin in response to that light signal.
Yeah, yeah, it's so important. It's so funny to me. I always wonder these things, because melanin is not only on the skin, right? Because totally, it's on the skin, and that's where it's visible. And it does depend on your haplotype. I'm an H2, so it's actually interesting how much I do make a tan being an H2. But I also dad has got like an olivey skin tone like this too as well. So I do make a decent tan. But it's not only in the skin, it's in the brain, it's in the eyes, it's in the gut, it's in all parts of the internal body, right? So one of the things I noticed when I started getting more sun exposure, and I find this very interesting and odd, and I wonder, nobody's been ever able to answer why this happened is my eyes turned way more green, which
Hmm.
actually is less melanin, because they don't be darker, right? The dark usually, but my eyes are so much more green than they used to be. So I don't know. I find that very interesting. So I don't know if anybody knows about it. Send me
When
an
did they
email.
start turning more green?
When I started getting a lot more sun exposure, they went way more hazel.
We
Way,
have to
way.
ask the person we're going to have on the podcast, the ophthalmologist, about that.
Yes, we do because
That's
they were much darker brown before, and then when I started going
wow.
in the sun, and I was like, is the melanin being used to heal my brain or something? I don't know. Like it went,
Probably.
like I have no idea. Like, because like I said, it's internal. Like we think of it just as an external thing, but melanin is internally doing work as well for us. Like the substantia nigra in the brain, right, is related to Parkinson's disease, right? When we know that that should be like a dark black melanin, right? And people who have low melanin are like Parkinson's is more likely to happen, right, in places where there's less UV light. So they
Yeah,
have
that's
less
what I was
melanin.
listening to Dr. Alexis Cowan talk about melanin, and she said that people with darker haplotypes, they don't get Parkinson's.
Right, exactly. And that's because they have a lot of
Neuromelanin.
that neuromelanin in the
Wow.
substantia nigra, and it's like black, and that's a big part of Parkinson's. So interesting. So I'm like, maybe I had needed more melanin in my brain and it went from my eyes to brain. I don't know. Like this is just my thoughts. But
Wow.
yeah, melanin is it's huge. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's melanin is produced in the skin, if we don't know, like the epidermis, right? And it's melanosomes that do it, and it's that's how it's made. And there are two types. There's the eumelanin and the pheomelanin, and these are just different kinds of skin pigments, I should say. So like a eumelanin is more like the brown black pigment, and that's like a stronger UV protection. So the darker skinned you are, that's like the eumelanin, right? The darker skin populations, and they actually that melanin is like a sun protection, right? It's like it's solar adaptation. So people who live closer to the equator with darker skin are going to have more eumelanin, like that darker brown pigmentation. But that actually is really important to highlight because people who live near the equator and have those darker skin adaptations, they actually need more melanin, like need more sunlight exposure, excuse me, because they have more sun protection, right? So they actually require more sunlight. So this is why we talk about like that circadian mismatch of people who have the darker skin tones who are living in these northerly latitudes who are not getting enough UV light because they have so much melanin. Their skin is so melanated that's protecting them so much from the sun that they're not able to absorb as much, right? So that's also pretty important, I think, to highlight. And then the pheomelanin, I have two kids who make pheomelanin. They get like the red yellow pigmentation there. I have two boys actually that are, believe it or not, red hair and freckled. And when my middle son came out of my body and he was red hair, it was like orange bright, Heather, like a carrot. I was like, where did you come
Oh,
from? I
that's so
have no
interesting.
idea. It's so interesting, right? But they don't really tan very easily. They freckle. And even my youngest Matthew, it's like when he's out in the sun, his face just becomes like a ton of freckles. Like it just literally looks like a ton of freckles. And they have to their skin like they're not as diligent as me as using their sun exposure, obviously, of course. Maybe when they get older they will be, but they have to be more careful, because they will burn a lot easier. So just
Mhm.
mentioning that. But obviously people who have more pheomelanin are going to have weaker UV protection, and they can have more. I mean, listen, as much as we talk about how great sunlight is for our health, we have to realize that a sunburn is not a good thing, right? And I did want to say that, like, a sunburn is not good for our health, and that is a stress response to the system, and the body has to do a lot of healing of that. So, we don't want sunburns are never encouraged in any way, shape, or form.
No, and I've unfortunately had plenty when I was younger because I'm quite pale when I'm not doing any sun exposure. So then I
Yeah.
would do this dumbass thing was I would be like, "Oh yay, it's sunny," and then I would go out white, and then I'd get sunburned pretty quickly.
Oh,
So
me too. I was the same
right,
way. Yeah,
I've
I
had
did that
many
too.
sunburns, so
Yeah.
just grateful that my skin is hanging in there.
Yeah.
I have the dark spots in some places from probably just the ongoing sun exposure on my hands. But anyway,
Yeah. Yeah, it's okay.
so why does the body have melanin? Like Vanessa's saying, it's our basically the body's way of managing light, the exposure to light. And that UV exposure then signals the body to create the melanin, and it's the tyrosinase enzyme that converts to tyrosine into melanin, and that's like our adaptive protection response system. And because when you think about it, you don't want the light to penetrate into your body, and then it would be too damaging to your DNA and different cellular components. So it's like that protective shield, so to speak, for the UV light. And then melanin is what it creates to do that. So melanin is also in quantum biology. There's a cool researcher in Mexico, actually, Dr. Arturo Solis Herrera, and
Oh, you
he
said that so beautifully. Say it
oh,
again.
thank you. Arturo Solis Herrera. He has done this research, you guys. It is so incredible. That's where we're getting this information about melanin acting as a biological energy transformer or semiconductor. Because it'll be the UV, the interaction with the light, and then it helps with all kinds of things. Like there's water that's affected, there's electron transfer, there's all different things that are happening with the UV and then the melanin. So there's more information coming out about that, but that's what he's found out so far. It's kind of like chlorophyll in plants. Like melanin for us is a similar kind of right function.
Yeah, it's the way that our body can make energy, basically. Like
Mhm.
the plants can make energy from chlorophyll, we can make energy from melanin, basically, is what it's saying. And it is emerging research, and there is been some. It's been a little controversial of how much of it is true and not. So we don't really know yet. But certain people in the quantum biology realm will be like, "Yep, it's totally accurate," and some people are like, "Oh, I'm not so sure yet." So I mean, I don't know, but I think that it definitely has the potential. And all I know is that the more melanin you have, the healthier you're probably going to feel. So I think that's how I feel about it. But yeah, it can be a selective antioxidant, so which can neutralize free radicals. So selective antioxidants are what we want. The selective means like when we ground on the earth and gather in electrons, that's a selective antioxidant. So it it reduces free radicals wherever needed in the body, right? It's like a smart antioxidant. It goes wherever the body needs to reduce free radicals, and that's how melanin also acts. So it's pretty cool. And it definitely expands our thinking about how melanin functions because it's like, wow, how can our tan help us produce energy? But it does. Yeah, really cool.
Fascinating. Yeah. So, what else? So it's basically the cool thing about melanin too is it as a light regulator, it absorbs broad spectrum, like the different frequencies of light, so UV, visible light, and infrared. So it's basically just collecting all the light, right? It's not just about UV light. And then what happens energetically with the melanin is it helps to, because you think about it, there's intense heat coming in. So it's helping to regulate that and it'll dissipate the heat. Like Vanessa said, it's antioxidant neutralization. And then it may also be involved in cellular signaling effects. So it's doing a lot, like a biological light buffering system.
Yeah.
Quite
I think of
profound.
it, oh, go ahead.
No, I'm done.
I was gonna say, I think of it as like the more melanin you have, the more you're able to like absorb and utilize light better, right?
Mhm.
So just think of it that simply. So the more that you get your tan on, the more that in the right way, of course. And we have episodes where we talk about the right way to do that, for sure. So go back and listen, because again, we're not advocating for you to just like go out midday sun when you're, pale and burn, right? Because the sunburn is never the goal. You want to build melanin, not get a sunburn. And there's a strategic way to do that. But yeah, the more that you build that melanin, the more you can, and that solar adaptation, the more you can absorb and use light effectively, basically. Because and think of it just like this, if you are really pale and you're not ever out in the sun, it's hard to spend a lot of time out there, right? Like it's simple enough, right? You can't really absorb it all because you're always going to be worried about sunburns, like
Well, it's
in
just a
the way.
stressor. It just becomes a
Yeah,
stressor.
and then it becomes a
So
stressor.
it's going to backfire. Your body can't assimilate the light. It can't absorb the light. It can't protect itself from the light, and then you're just stressing yourself out, and it's going to create more free radicals. So you have
Right.
to be diligent and wise about it, and understand that. Because the thing is people only think of the sun as bad. They don't know how to partner with it. So because if you don't work with it and understand how to utilize it properly, you're going to end up hurting yourself. And that's why people think it's so bad for you. It's not bad for you. It's just knowing how to work with the sun and get the right light exposure, like Vanessa's saying. instead of thinking it's just all bad and putting on sunscreen and sunglasses, because now we're really handicapping ourselves basically.
I just love that you said to be a partner with the sun. That was like beautifully said. That really does like hit home. And it's like when I think back to just thinking back to this church of St. Lucia, like all those people who had the sunburns, they weren't partners with the sun before that. They had no relationship with the sun before that. And that's why they got the sunburn. Like whereas I had a relation, and my brother also too, we had a relationship with the sun because he's literally barefooted in his shorts and no shirt, like in the winter. Okay. So we have a relationship with the sun, and he does ice baths too all the time. You have a relationship with the sun, and you then, your body is like, it's primed for it. It's ready to receive, right? Is the way to describe it. Because what most people do, like you just said, is they avoid the sun because they're afraid of it, or they don't want to get a burn, or they're just too busy like working and never have time. So they and then they go on like a trip like that, or they go to the beach and they get fried, and then they think the sun is bad for them. But it's not that the sun was bad, it's the misuse of the sun. It's the way that we don't understand or have a relationship with the sun, and we're not partnering with the sun to utilize it correctly. So I just love that you brought that in because it's so
Thank
true.
you. Yeah, it's like going to the gym when you haven't been exercising for 10 years and thinking it's going to
Yeah.
be productive and helpful, and you're just ending up getting really sore and hurting yourself, possibly. And then it's the same with the sun, is that if you don't exercise your relationship with it or your exposure to it and understand the timing issues and whatnot, you're going to end up hurting yourself. So it's the same thing.
Yeah, and then just creating more reactive oxygen species and more stress in the body that it has to repair,
Hmm.
which is never the goal. It's to utilize the sun as medicine. The goal is never to get a sunburn. It's to build the melanin and to build and to absorb the light and use the light for healing.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. So we need to do melanin requires gradual again, not instant. Like it's something that happens gradually over time, right? So it's not instant gratification. And requires repeated UV exposure to build the tolerance. And particularly UVA is very important. So, I mean, we've talked about this in many podcasts. The sunrise light, the UVA light, then the UVB light, right? And the more that you build that melanin, it's protective and adaptive, right? So, like we said, the modern issue is the indoor lifestyle and then the sudden sun exposure, vacations, there's the lack of adaptation, and then there's people are using the sunscreen, which is the whole thing too, right? Because they're worried about getting sunburns, and then it blocks the ability to actually make melanin and build the signaling and get all the information from the light and make vitamin D because it's blocking UVB light and UVA light, which makes melanin. So we're not getting those good signals, and we're not getting the right, light frequencies in our body for POMC to be activated, and our neurotransmitters to be activated, and our thyroid hormone, like all these things that we block out when we're using sunscreen. Besides the chemicals, that's a whole nother ballgame. That drove me nuts on the beach, and even my husband, because we don't use these things anymore. So it was like they're just spraying the spray cans all over the place. I'm like, I gotta go walk over here. Like it's just
Is
like
it smelling?
crazy.
Is it smelling pretty gross?
Oh my God, yes. Yeah. The sunscreen, have you ever smelled that before? That they have all these,
Well,
oh
it's been
God.
many years, but I smell other
Lucky
things. I can
you.
only imagine how bad it smells. It's really sad because you're
It
trying to
is.
have you're trying to be healthy, and then they're spraying chemicals all over themselves, basically, because those are synthetic fragrances. And even if they're
Oh
not, it
yeah.
still usually stings because of the chemicals in the sunscreen. So that's just really unfortunate. They should have a section, sunscreen people over here, and this is going to be natural.
It's like the smoking section versus the
Yeah,
non-smoking
exactly.
section.
Exactly.
I mean, the creams are not as bad because they're not like getting sprayed it's the spray
Air
ones. Yeah, the
aerosolized.
spray
Yeah.
ones that are really bad. And I'm like, people, please. And they don't, nobody, like, I guess because they're not sensitive to it or they're not thinking about it, they don't even realize like where they're spraying, and it's like getting all over everybody else. And then the wind comes or whatever. But it's such a thing. It's such
No,
a
I think
thing.
most people are really who live a more standard or like a conventional lifestyle is that they're totally
Oblivious.
anesthetized. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
anesthetized to synthetic fragrances. Whereas the longer I haven't used them, which is gosh, 35 years now. It's been a long time. The more sensitive I am, unfortunately, because you can smell them a mile away and they're very offensive. So, what can you do?
I
No.
totally concur. I'm the exact same way. I think, did I tell the story about, if I'm repeating myself, audience, I'm sorry, but I used to use like Tide, like, I mean, probably like 7, 8 years ago, it's probably been, right? And I used to use like the smelly ones, and I'll pull out a shirt sometimes from my closet and I'll be like, holy shit, I haven't worn this in like 5, 6 years,
And it
I
still
guess.
smells like Tide.
It still smells like that
That's
because it's
amazing.
a forever
They're
chemical. It
forever chemicals, yeah.
literally lasts forever. And I'm like, crap. And I've had to wash it like 2 or 3 times to get it out. I'm like,
You have to
I
hang it
wash.
outside. If you hang it outside, it'll
Yeah.
disinfect it.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Well, now that
Or
it's, yeah.
detox. It'll detox. So that's what I
Like
do.
detox, like probably
Yeah.
my whole wardrobe, I should probably go put outside.
Like if I get something used once in a while, I'll go to the thrift store, garage store, whatever, and then I'll have to hang it outside. Or I won't even, sometimes after a month, it still smells and I'll just throw it away.
Yeah.
Usually that's the synthetic fibers. If it's natural fibers, they detox
Yeah.
pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I definitely have a lot of synthetic fibers. That's still something I'm working on. It's a goal to have all
Yeah, I
natural
know.
fibers.
It's a
Yeah.
lot. It's a big effort.
It's a big one because it's expensive,
I
right?
know.
So it's a big expense, and you got to have clothes to wear. So I mean, wait, I had to tell you one quick more story. So at the place at the resort, they had this big massage area, and it's like all these rooms, and then it's 2 levels, and above that there was a sign. It said "naked sunbathing" and had an arrow.
Wow.
And so I said to my husband, I said, let's go up and let's go check it out. Nobody was there, but it was just like a huge deck for naked sunbathing.
That's
And
awesome.
I contemplated it, but they had no like there's no like I'm
They
not
should
that
put up like these sort of little
barriers.
separator things. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, there were like
So
some
you could feel
barriers. I probably would have done it.
comfortable.
But also, this is actually goes back tie back into the melanin conversation, which is really important. Um, so the reason why I didn't burn, like I said, is because that most of the skin that I was exposed was already having that solar adaptation. If I would have went up there on this top deck and bathed sun, naked, those areas would not have had any been exposed to any UV light or just very small amount and not have they would have burned likely. So that was another reason for me not to do it.
Yeah,
Because I'm like,
if your yoni hasn't seen the sun, don't fry it, please. I'm just
yeah,
kidding.
exactly. I was like, I don't need my breasts to be like bright red for the rest of the week. So maybe I
Yeah,
shouldn't.
be careful. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So melanin also ties into the immune system, the stress response. So the skin is an immune organ. Like we don't think about it like that, but it is absolutely one of the ways that, I mean, we talk about this all the time, Heather, about how it's our largest organ of detoxification, right? So it's an immune organ. So it is communicating with the gut microbiome. It's communicating with all of these things. So it's not just a barrier, it's an immune organ. So melanin also binds reactive molecules, reduces oxidative stress load, and supports environmental adaptation. So it is communicating, our skin cells are communicating with melanin. In fact, even like POMC, um, if our gut is, exposed to the sun, it's more activated, right? So the skin does communicate this information to based on the light frequencies that touch it to what it's going to do. So it's really important.
Fascinating. Yeah.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. So we already mentioned that there's different kinds of melanin. So in the brain, there's the neuromelanin. So neuro, like neurological. And it's interesting, Vanessa, because it's the neuromelanin is concentrated in the dopamine-rich area. So there's a relationship between melanin and dopamine.
Dopamine. Yeah.
Yeah, and so also the thing about people with darker haplotypes not getting Parkinson's is that because the melanin binds to like heavy metals and toxins. So if you have
And also
more,
dopamine. Dopamine probably plays a major role in Parkinson's, I would say too, because there
oh
is a
yeah,
dopamine connection. Yeah.
right, right. So
Mhm.
that's part of it is that the neuromelanin is helping sequester those heavy metals and protect your brain. So there's a
Mhm.
major neuroprotective role that it's playing. So again, in the eyes, and so about your eyes changing color. I'm very curious to know about that when we talk
Yeah,
to.
because it's supposed to be protective to
Yeah,
prevent from light
yeah,
damage,
yeah.
but then mine got lighter. So like my eyes are
Well,
not like the
so
adaptation went the wrong way, but my vision is really good. I don't know. It's weird.
hmm, yeah, maybe there's more to it that we don't know about.
Yeah.
So reduces. Well, here it is. Reduces oxidative stress from vision processing. You just said your vision's gotten better with the more sun exposure. So I find that really fascinating, right?
Yeah.
So the melanin in your ear or your inner ear, it protects balance or helps support balance and hearing structures and buffers metabolic and oxidative stress in your ear
I've
even.
I've heard people, well, melanin certainly, I've certainly sunlight exposure helping people with vision issues. I mean, I've heard that many, many times. In fact, I was just listening to a podcast and I sent you about that this morning, all about melanin. We're going to definitely have to get that guy on. All about, it wasn't just about melanin, but it was about sunlight exposure and how much it improves eyesight, right? And damage. But anyway, inner ear, I've also heard people say about tinnitus, and tinnitus getting better from sunlight exposure as well. So that makes
Well,
sense
mine
also.
hasn't, so that must be attributable to something else. So I don't
Well,
know
it's not
how
the
much I
only
would have
thing.
to get. But remember, and I've talked about
Mine
this.
has. I have tinnitus also, and mine
Okay.
has. I got tinnitus doing keto, which honestly, I think the reason why that happened was is my body was so stressed out.
So, yeah, it's too stressful,
Yeah.
huh? That's so
Yeah, but
interesting.
mine has gotten better since maximizing sunlight exposure. A lot better. I mean, it's there, but it's like I barely notice it. When it came out, it was like 24/7 all the time, so bad. So, yeah, it's
Wow.
so much
Remember,
better.
I've talked in prior podcasts about the time I spent in Mexico and Baja, and so
Yeah.
it's much higher UV than I was used to. And I went there in like middle spring, or no, late spring rather, so I had a little bit of time to warm up to it. But so I had my histamine issues just disappeared, but I don't remember what happened with my tinnitus. So I wish I could.
Mm.
It might have also been mitigated. I don't know.
I wonder.
Anyways,
I'll tell you what, too. I wasn't down in um St. Lucia for more than what I got there on a Sunday and I left on a Saturday. So it was only like 5 full days, right? And I'm I don't ha I do pretty good with food, but I don't have complete food freedom in general. Like I have to watch high oxalates and high histamine food still, otherwise I can notice symptomology. Down there, no problem.
yeah,
No
there you
problem.
go.
I ate everything. Drinking all kinds of juices. I don't drink alcohol because I'm actually adverse. I don't like it. But all kinds of foods, all kinds of problems. But there's a obviously correlation between histamine, sunlight, of course, we know that. But then also the foods that are grown that are high histamine there, like bananas and avocados and pineapples and things like that. These are all higher histamine foods, but when they're matched to the environment, it's less of a problem, I think, for people too, right? But I ate all the things and I didn't notice anything really at all. And there are foods that I would normally avoid, like pineapple. Like I would normally avoid pineapple, and I was eating tons of pineapple and no problem, and drinking pineapple juice and like things like that, or bananas or banana, anything with banana in it, I would avoid usually. I certainly don't ever drink shots with turmeric in it. Not shots of alcohol, but
Yeah, yeah,
like a
two
juice
shots.
shot. They had this wellness center that had like different like juice shots that you could go get, like
Oh,
immune
fun.
boosting shots and things like that. So I was like, I did that. And I certainly would not do that here, but I had no problem there. So
Well, you're
yeah.
matching the food that was, I mean, I'm assuming that it's local, right? All the food, most of the food you're eating
I
is
mean,
local.
I'm certain the banana, I mean, I would hope the bananas and the pineapples and the avocados and all of that would be very local, right? I mean,
Or at least
I don't know, does
it's
turmeric grow down
tropical.
there? I don't know if turmeric
Yeah,
grows down
turmeric
there.
is tropical. So it's, but at least
Yeah.
it's all the same
Yeah,
tropical
chocolate, like
range.
chocolate.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I was so disappointed, Heather, and this is just gonna let you know that I must go back to St. Lucia for this reason because in the mango, I was like, "Where's the mangoes?" And they're like, "Oh, mangoes are not in season yet." I'm like, "Oh my God!" Like that's so disappointing. Because I love mangoes are like literally one of my favorite fruits. They're a fruit that they're not a high histamine fruit necessarily either, but they're one of my favorites. They didn't have any, so anyway, must go back just for fresh
To
mangoes off the
capitalize
mango.
on that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I
You missed
capitalized on that.
out. It's too
I
early.
missed
So
out on the
seasons.
mangoes.
Yeah, it's even tropics have seasons. So there you go.
They do. I asked that question. Like certain things are, they have the bananas have seasons, the avocados have seasons, all of these fruits, they have seasons. It's not everything's not always available. But yeah, it's an important point. Yeah. Yeah.
The rhythm of nature.
Yeah.
So getting a tan, I mean, it's interesting because I have one of my clients I talked to. She's like, "Oh, in Eastern Europe, we don't do tans. Like that's not a thing." Oh no.
Hmm.
So it's very interesting because a lot of stuff came up for me. I mean, obviously I didn't disclose this to her, but I was like, okay. So it's considered unattractive. Yes,
Really?
absolutely. They avoid the sun.
Ooh.
They don't like the look of it because she had a little sunburn because she was out all day at a festival, and I was like,
Mm.
"Oh, look at you go to sunburn." Oh yeah, yeah. And so we started talking about this. It was so fascinating. There's definitely probably some colonial kind of imperial stuff going on there. With if
Mm.
you're darker skin, see a lot of people like this may not occur to you, but a lot of people over the millennia have said, well, you're a peasant because you are outside and you have to do hard labor and you're tan.
Oh,
So
I never
that's
thought
the
of that.
connection. I know, that's what I'm telling you. It's a thing.
Mm.
It's
Mm.
definitely, and it still exists. So, I mean, she's amazing. She's, bless her heart, she's a really good person. And she just told me, like, in Bulgaria, Eastern Europe, like, that's not, they're not trying to get more sun exposure. You think of other cultures too, like even in Mexico, like the more indigenous native looking people of darker skin, and who are all the people you see on TV are all white, whiter looking. So it's really a thing, Vanessa. It's a big deal. So they're not out
Yeah.
there trying to sunbathe. Some of these more,
And meanwhile, people here in like the US are like going to tanning beds, which by the way is not the thing that I would recommend, by the way,
right?
you know?
I know, but if you think about it, like too, so okay, so it's not kosher among the elite or whatever the hell they are. So the upper level class, but the people who are outside in nature, eating more local, organic, what they can get, are healthier. What is it also about melanin? Because they have more melanin, one reason, and then they're getting the frequencies of the light. They're more in touch with working the earth, whatever it is. But melanin also functions, and we mentioned this a couple times already in the show, is that it binds to, it's a chelator. So it binds to heavy metals, lead, mercury, cadmium, all of these things. So it's like a biological sponge. And it helps our body to sequester and then, get rid of these heavy metals. So that's actually really, really important. So it's like, okay, you can have a tan that you've built wisely, right, and get more sun exposure, or you can be whiter and whatever
Building up toxins.
values, yeah, whatever values you have there, and then there's going to be certain side effects with that. So choose whatever you want. It's fine, but
It's making me think of like back in the day, like when you look at like Eastern European pictures, like they would have that pearly white, like the old English photos.
oh
I never
yeah,
really thought of that. I
that's
guess
why
that's
you have the parasols. That's why
yeah,
you're
yeah, that's the
covered.
elite. Yeah.
I live in a desert area, and it's sunny a lot, and then in the summer it's really hot. The UV is not
Mm.
super high because I'm only at the 37th latitude, but it's still hot, and people go out and they're fully covered.
Yeah,
It's
I
like
mean,
it's easy
I,
to spot who are the people who are like, oh my god, no sun, no tanning, nothing.
oh yeah, especially even in my neighborhood, I can see that too. Like I'm outside in my sports bra and my shorts, and there everybody's got long pants on or like hats and sunglasses. I mean, obviously, is very common, but I'm like, hmm. And yeah, you definitely can see that even in the tropical island, you see that, and even like you see like landscapers and people who come to they work, they're always like really covered. So it's interesting,
Well,
very
they're in the sun
interesting.
all day long though, so that's understandable. I would
Yeah,
have
I
to do that
guess,
as
right,
well.
right,
I
yeah.
couldn't be out there all day every day. I would turn to leather. My skin is pretty sensitive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's very important to have a balanced, nuanced conversation about all of this because it's like you can get into the quantum biology world and be like, yeah, sun, 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 right? But it is like everything is in balance in the body, right? It's like we swing the pendulum one way to the other, like, oh, we've been avoiding the sun, and then we're like going all
Yeah,
in on the sun. And it's really the real true healing effect happens when it's in the middle
the
ground,
balance. I'm
the
glad you're bringing
balance
this
nuance.
up because one of our former guests, Jack Schroeder, who I really respect, he put a, I think it was Jack, right? He put a post up
Yes.
recently about it's not like, more sun isn't always better. Like you can overdo it. And that's why
Oh yeah.
more natural peoples, as I call them, or indigenous, whatever word you want to use, is like they didn't work out in the sun like constantly. They would get shade, or they would have their structures, or whatever they were doing, or they would make hats. So out of natural materials, it's not like they're just in the sun all the time. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm referring to. It's like how
Yeah.
much, and then they just instinctively knew, like, okay, I need shade, or I need to
It's
be
true
covered.
too. It like even in St. Lucia, I was like, I'm getting hot. You feel the tingly feeling like, okay, I need to go in the shade. Like you just feel that intuitively. And I also, when I did lay in the sun, I laid from like my chest down. Like I put my stomach and legs in the sun, but not I didn't put my face like and my chest in the sun as much because I didn't want to like that. I don't know. Like I feel like that is more
That's more
sensitive.
stimulating to overheating. Yeah, you get overheated
Or
faster.
not even overheating, but more likely to get a burn. Like if I'm gonna get a sunburn, it's gonna be here.
Yeah,
It's gonna
okay.
be in this area. So I'm like, I wanted to be like more protective of that. So yeah, I think we need to listen to our intuition too, and go slow with the sun if it's not something that you're used to for sure. But what also I love about melanin too, we talked about it's the semiconductor properties, right? That's the new emerging research, right? It can act like a selective antioxidant. We talked about that. But it also It's protective, I believe. And I've heard this spoken many times in the quantum biology world from artificial light and even non-native EMFs as well. So it's the more melanin you have, you are more protected against artificial light frequencies, right? And more protective against non-native EMFs, which are absolutely just also light that we cannot see. They are a form of light that we cannot see. So, building up that is really important. And also, little plug on St. Lucia again, too, like just being in the ocean. That's like what I felt like. I don't know. There's like a quiet of the noise of all the things and just being there too. There's definitely, you can feel less energy, I guess I could feel like, right? Because it's like most of that island is a rainforest with the outer portion of the island being, where people are populated is a lot less noise frequency wise. And then like being in the water with all those minerals, and it just feels like energetically protective to me when it comes to non-native EMFs.
Yeah, there's less radiation, man-made frequencies all together. So
Yeah,
it's like when you
I felt
go
that.
out, when I go way out into the desert or I go way out into nature, it's like I can literally just feel it. Like my whole body's like, because you
Yeah,
don't
it's
have
like
the buzz, all the buzzes and whizzes, and it's all around us all the time in our houses and our homes, and we just have become immune to it, and you don't notice it until you get away from it. That it's how much static is around us.
yeah, it's so true. The static, that's a perfect word to describe it. The static, the noise was less. You're lucky that you have places like that. Like, I guess Zion is pretty protected, right? Like, we don't really have a lot of that here, like on Long Island. I mean, you can go out to the beaches maybe, but it's very like there's not a lot of protected areas here like that. So that's a beautiful thing that you have. So enjoy that.
I
Yeah.
try.
Yeah, I know you do.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Right.
anyway, yeah.
Wrapping it up.
Melanin, yeah, melanin is it's not just a pigment, it's a light regulator, it's antioxidant, and yeah, it works on multiple organs. It's not just in the skin, it's deep inside of our tissues, and it's doing a lot of amazing things for our body. So yeah, get your tan on, but do it wisely, of course, right? And we've evolved with sunlight, so we need to work with it, not against it, of course. And it's an adaptation tool for living in a sun exposed planet, right? And it's the body is wise and smart. Like the reason why we have melanin was an adaptation, right? So we could be outside and be in the sunlight and be absorbing and doing the things and being out there, right? And of course, our modern life is disrupting us building melanin, pulling us indoors, being in screens, using sunscreen all the time, work hustle, never being outside, all of that. So we're not building that melanin like we used to. So yeah.
Yeah. So
Mm.
maybe you should put the place you were at in the show notes. You should get an affiliate code for the body holiday is what it's called, you guys. So if you're
Yeah,
interested,
they're a great place, but like
yeah,
if I was going to review them from like a quantum biology perspective, there are things that I would shift, of course. They don't
yeah.
know they know the basics of how to help people on a health level, but they don't know the quantum biology aspects.
That's
No,
really hard to find anywhere. So
I don't think that's ever going to happen. Probably maybe I
no,
shouldn't say
there's
that.
people doing it. Well, no,
Yeah.
Sarah Pugh's working on stuff like that.
That's cool. It would be really
Mark
cool to.
Dinney. No, Mark Dinney, one of our
Oh yeah,
podcast
we had
guests, is
him on.
working
Let's
on
see.
that.
We should check in on him and see if he's had that going. Because I would love to go to a place that would be more quantum biology centered, which, and I would, interestingly enough, like me wearing my blue blockers every night, nobody asked me. I was wait, because you're at a health centered place. So you think people would be curious, you know?
No, they're
No,
not. No.
no.
Rudy Viva Rays, he probably has. Did I say his name right? Right? Yeah. He has
Yes.
some more quantum stuff. You can stay at his place. He used to have it on Airbnb, but there's a few. It's growing. Like we're getting more quantum friendly retreat centers or
Yeah,
vacation
but there
spots.
were there were amazing things there. I mean, to do Tai Chi every day and yoga and breath work and meditations and
Yeah.
beach, but there were a lot of amazing things and massages every day. And my father got cranial sacral there. I mean, they do all kinds of amazing hydrotherapy, lots of
I
amazing
think
things.
at the end of the day, Vanessa, it's also our attitude about it is more important than, I mean, unless you're like living next to a electrical grid generator thing. I mean, at the end of the day, it's like our mindset about it, I think, is as important as anything. So if we are more fearful about it, then that's not a good thing. So, it's just be smart about it and be calm about it and do your research and then enjoy yourself. That's my suggestion.
Yeah, totally. I love that. I love that. And yeah, don't be hyper vigilant about all the things and be stressed and worried about all the things because the stress of it and the fear of it is way worse than the actual thing,
Mhm.
always. So, yeah. So if you want to learn more about melanin, on my Substack, I wrote an article about melanin and it's a very deep dive. If like you like the sciencey parts of it, like we talked a little bit, but we didn't really deep dive into it. But you can go ahead and join my Substack. It's Bright Light Wellness. I used to have two Substacks. If you're curious what happened, I had one for Bright Light Wellness and one for healing with homeopathy. So one was on this quantum stuff and one was on the homeopathy stuff. I scratched that and I put it all together. So it's Bright Light Wellness is my Substack, and you can go read that article. That one is for paid subscribers. I have a lot of free content on there, though. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous. You could learn a lot of this information, but yeah, that Melanin article is for paid subscribers. So if you want to join, I think it's $8 a month. You get to have all my information there, and you also now when you join, you get the quantum biology stuff, right? All the light biology stuff, and you also get all the homeopathy stuff. And I have two free courses when you join now as a paid subscriber, Heather. I don't
Nice.
know if I told you this. You
Cool.
get my how, when, and why, and where to use blue blockers, so you learn how to use blue blockers appropriately, because there is some nuanced conversations about how to use them. And then you also get my homeopathy for acute. So there's like acute issues. So you have, and that's like a 2 hour webinar all about like how to use homeopathic remedies in acute situations. Like, oh, I slammed my foot in the car door or in the door or something like that, or I whatever. Like when he's kind of like I have a fever or like something like that. So there's a lot of really good information there. So you can go check that out. And yeah, I think that's it. Anything else you want to add, Heather? I think this has been a lot of
No, I
fun.
think it's really good. It's very important, timely, and very impactful for people's health. So, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. Please take a moment and leave us some feedback. Give us a rating, up to 5-star rating on Apple, Spotify. We really appreciate it. And we look forward to seeing you in the next episode.
Yeah. Remember, be a partner with the sun. I love that one. Thanks, guys.